in our second playoff match. Still here in round one. This is single elimination. Whoever loses here goes straight to the World's Gauntlet. And in KT's case, they're going straight to round one as well. They're going to have to fight all the way back up again. Double trees to be taken away from Pyosik here. And we can see Rumble and Ashe already taken away. The Ashe ban makes a lot of sense against both Gumushi and Kerio. But there is no Azir ban yet, as the Vi is also taken away. A lot of junglers removed. Even the jungle removed.
Yeah, and also, you know, we didn't see any Senna yesterday. We've seen LCS playing a bit, been really high priority. Faker has been spamming the Nasus in solo queue, so they are going to ban that away. Senna is open, Azir is open. I feel like yesterday we didn't see any Senna. Expect it more today, potentially, from these teams, but it's just going to be that first pick, Azir from T1. I don't think that's any surprise. Faker leaning on that pick, which is obviously very experienced on. And immediately KT go for the Renekton Sejuani combo.
Yeah.
I think prioritizing the Sejuani when you have 3 jungle bans already makes a decent amount of sense. Renekton, obviously a pick we've seen quite high priority on, does pair up well. Nice to see a champion who can actually stack the Sejuani permafrost rather than sometimes when we get like the 4-range champion.
Yeah, the good old Kennen Ari Sejuani or something like that, which would be very tragic. It does give Owner the ability to head towards the Lilia. It doesn't fill you with joy to see it alongside an Azir necessarily, but it is still very, very powerful in the jungle and can really start messing up Pyosik's day. See where Faker goes. Could be a lock-in towards the top side of the map in order to just round out that top side, save the bottom lane to try and get some sort of counter pick after that fourth does come in for KT. Or they lock away something of the priority variety. Could be an option here, but they can already see the Renekton, so you could theoretically go into that.
Oh.
It will just be Senna. There it is. Finally, we see this pick. We were talking about it all yesterday. It just didn't get a look in, and finally it will be locked away as BDD locks up the Smolder. This could be for Deft and could be for BDD. BDD, of course, debuting it in the mid lane to a victory against, you know, a decent opposition, if I recall correctly, as Kennen going to be taken away from Zeus now that they do have the opportunity to do so. Yeah,
interesting they ban the Kennen when it's already an AP heavy topside, but obviously could be AD Kennen.
Yep.
I wonder what they are going to pair with the Senna and what they might ban away. Kalista Senna was played last night in the LCS, and obviously would be something T1 would be very comfortable with. A lot of lane pressure into a Smolder.
Yeah.
Also, you have the safety net for the Senna. You know, if you can't engage on her and kill her, she gets so much value. I think this champion is ridiculously broken. The healing on her kit is just absurd. And yes, you have a Smolder who scales well, but if you get to 3 items on the Senna, the game's just over. Caitlyn ban going to come through, so obviously still very aware the Smolder will be going in mid lane. And really, it's up to KT in this situation if they want to go for the Seraphine. So this could be a bot lane Seraphine, as in like AD carry, or it could be in the support role. We saw Ashe Seraphine played yesterday. It does feel like a bit like they want to match scaling with scaling, and also you have the powerful engage potential. So if Renekton and Sejuani go in, you can ult over the top.
And it also synergizes quite well with Mom as well, if you've got Seraphine and Smolder standing in a similar position. Line them up and knock them down is the theory, as Olaf is just going to be locked in. Of course it is. That's Yasuo. I don't know where that would be going, as I assume it's Figumayushi alongside Carrier's Senna. That could be a lot of fun.
We've seen them play Senna Yasuo, not the most synergy between the two kits, but the wind wall has a lot of value in this situation.
Hang on.
The
Neela to come in.
The thing is, you already do so much healing, and you get the amplified healing from the Neela. It's a little bit disgusting, but it does mean KT going to look for something like the MF here. A lot of power with that bot side. The 3 ultimates of the Smolder, the Seraphine, and the MF. Insane amounts of power, but they are playing into this Senna who, you know, the healing potential, the ult potential, the shielding available is a bit absurd. I think KT, you know, they've got some strong aspects of the composition. If we get a late game, obviously the Smolder can be really powerful. But I feel like when you have this Olaf, if Zeus gets ahead in this pick and you have a Senna backing you up with this healing, it's going to be impossible to take anyone down. The Lilia as well.
Yeah.
And I think it might be quite hard to pin down these targets and keep them inside the MF ultimate if they're, you know, an Olaf can't BCC, the Lilia very, very mobile and can build Zhonya's.
And I just think with all of the slows as well, you're never getting away from this team. What with Undertows and Piercing Darknesses and everything that is going to be raining down, I feel like that allows Ona to always be in position to burn you to death over and over again. Faker's setup for these Emperor's Divides is going to be very deadly in this game. And I think that KT, they have to get everything in line. They have to just burst them down in a second to be able to achieve anything in this game. And I think that it's going to start with needing a good start in this game as well. A beautiful draft, I think, from T1 in this one. I think blue side does give you a little bit of an advantage on that front, but I think also after all those advantages came through, they only made it better.
You know, the fact they locked in the center, immediately a good draft.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. That is exactly what I was thinking. Is KT going to be the first ones to try and deal with it? See what happens here as we hop onto the Rift for game number 1 of the Telecom War. Oh man, KT fans pretty loud here today, but T1 no slouches either, as Pioshik will be able to find Ona moving towards his jungle. We'll be backing away, giving them the good old okay there. As Carrier walking in alongside them. Don't know whether this necessarily means we will have any sort of lane swap shenanigans, but Pioshik is going to take a bunch of damage.
Yep, and it looks like we can see Guma moving up. Potentially wanting to go towards the top side. We'll see what they end up doing. Looks like they're not going to swap in the end. They were just trying to force Pioshik away, maybe threaten it. And actually we see Beryl moving up to try and defend this top side jungle. So a lot of just in position. There is a ward here that will spot T1.
Yeah.
Some information here, but they do know. Carrier comes out with a sweeper. And I think KT definitely want normal lanes here. The Senna, Neela, even though sustain is pretty big, you're going to get poked out a fair bit with one of your champions being melee in the early lane. And this is what Olaf can just do. His level 1, absurdly powerful.
Yeah, and the fact that KT actually tried to go for a bit of a contest there is kind of confusing, just because this 1-2 punch of the top and jungle on T1 side, very, very strong at this stage. Having a look here towards the bottom side of the map, it is going to be sustain versus sustain with this Seraphine and Senna. Deft, I think, will have a fair bit of power, though, in the early game, as you can see already, proccing that passive on Gumayushi and doing a fair bit here on this MF. And the Neela really starting to struggle as the heal is having to be used.
Yeah, just a really rough one. The Q cooldown, such a high cooldown at this point for the Senna, and you just don't have the poke to match up against Deft and Beryl in this situation.
Yeah, T1 fans already starting to get nervous. I don't know whether you should at this point, because, you know, there's 3. You have to win at least 3. So even if they lost this one, it's no worries. It's fine. Let's we can just chill out for this game. We can start getting anxious in the next couple, perhaps. But if this draft does what it says on the tin, I think that T1 not needing to be worried for quite some time, as that Undertow is going to miss, but Zeus does not care. He just hits perfect with a bunch of other buttons and some autos, and the Olaf is just sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, which is good. You have to be cautious if Pioshik moves up there. Obviously, the setup with a Sejuani Renekton is really high, really easy to execute on that Olaf, especially when Zeus has no Ghost available. But in the 1v1, having a great time. And if the Olaf becomes stronger, it really ups the value of this Senna. We've seen the Senna and Neela before when Nongshim played it, and it was very much around giving that extra XP to the Senna. So the fasting Senna was nowhere nearly as behind as she normally is, and became that big carry sooner. It's going to be a bit different in this one. You're not going to be doing nearly as much damage for this Senna. Typically, the build we've been seeing is Echoes of Helia, Moonstone, Dawncore.
Yep.
And, you know, Exo Helia is great one-item spike, but when you get Moonstone, when you get Dawncore, the healing just becomes absurd. But you're not really that big damage step. But I think that's fine with this composition. Even if Neela isn't able to do a ton of damage herself, you have triple damage threat on the top side really to provide. So, you know, if you get Carrier to a position where he's got items, he's got levels, it's just game warping how much sustain this champion has.
Yeah, and there is a lot of sustained damage on the side of T1 as well. I mean, you look at Lilia and the Azir, they're sort of known for being able to just continue to dish out damage, what with Ona stacking up that Q over and over again, just spinning around. He's going to demonstrate that for us here, I assume. Never mind, it's just going to be moving away from Pioshik. after getting some information.
Oh, gives him a bit of a hand. That's nice.
There we go. Cheers for that. Maybe he can get something with some of the dot, but not going to happen. Just going to get to work on the Gromp. You can see it back coming through here for Perfect, who was able to shove that lane back out again. Seeing whether he's going to use that teleport, we can see Zeus teleported back towards the top side of the map, but Perfect electing not to do so, considering the wave state. As high note coming down there from Beryl, just trying to soften up the T1 bottom lane. You can see Gumayusi was able to get that shove out, and so what was a decent CS advantage for Deft is now completely eliminated. They are going to go for their reset now.
If the game keeps going this direction, I think T1 can be pretty happy with it. See what happens when skirmishes start breaking out. And that's one of the things when you have this Smolder in the mid lane. Not the best when it comes to skirmishes, especially when it's paired up with the Sejuani. Not a ton of synergy there. You are just hoping to scale up and just become, hit those stacks, become strong then.
Yep. Zeus almost towards that Ragnarok, as that's when you do get very, very dangerous. The Renekton can't do that one job that he has, which is stun things. You do have to press R in order to make that one happen, but if Zeus goes for an all-in, then it's going to be very difficult for Perfect to figure it out, unless he's just stronger. And right now, it's not looking like that is necessarily the case.
Well, we've seen a swap come in, though, with Deft walking up towards the top side.
Yeah, and a teleport immediately just going to be used here by Perfect to get towards that bottom side of the map. Catches that big old wave that is going to be heading down here, and didn't actually go back beforehand or anything like that. So hasn't actually fought, as these plates are now starting to go down. And the back comes through from Zeus. I think this is just to try and maximize on that teleport advantage that Perfect was able to create for himself. Yeah, KT can then get themselves the grubs.
Yeah, they really want those grubs. I guess part of it may also just be avoiding...
Okay, Flap, pretty powerful there against walls, even if they are just constructed by an Emperor of Shurima.
Yeah, a little bit off there from Faker, but to be honest, don't think they would have killed BDD there, even if the ult did connect. Ona doesn't have his ult, probably would have just been a flash, but still a bit unfortunate, could move some BDD.
Yoshik is going to be able to lock down the third. So there we go, they got exactly what they wanted. Looks like Ona will be able to get himself the Rift Scuttler though. Yoshik not going to be able to get in line for the smite, as Deft has hit level 6. Perfect going for a little bit of a harass attempt onto Gumayusi, who just says no.
This is one of the problems with kind of leaving this lane as 1v2, is the Neela is so fast at taking towers, and the fact you can just queue them, but also Renekton has no recourse when she can just W and then dodge your main source of power as a Renekton, which is that stun. Honestly, it's part of the reason there is so much value with the Neela in this game, is you can't stack Sejuani passive, Perfect can't stun, a lot of auto attackers in the team of KT. The W value from the Neela going to be pretty high in this one.
Yeah, we'll see how well Gumayusi can utilize it here at the same time as Zeus is between turrets, level 7 as well, as Perfect is just going to try and stun him up with that Ruthless Predator. We'll be able to make it back to his turret here, but Zeus just cleans up the whole wave before it even really arrives, and Ona is going to be able to steal away the red buff as well. And as you can see, what this is translated to is about a 700 gold lead here as we crest the 8-minute mark. Looks like KT, with their 3 grubs though, are also going to be able to start up this dragon. And so a bit of investing for the future, you could say.
Yep, looks like a lot of objective focus from KT, really trying to get these on lock, but T1 seem not really too focused on that, just trying to secure gold where they can on the map. And won't even look to contest this Mountain Dragon at all.
And I don't mind that at all, to be honest. I think that T1 just wanting to set themselves up for a mid-game where they can still fight. And I think that that is something that they should be able to achieve with what their game plan and focus has been. That gold lead is only extended a little bit as the Dragon was taken down here by KT. Deft looking to try and hold on to this minion wave. Get a little bit of control back.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of a slow one so far. Not too much come out from this. I feel like both teams kind of testing the waters a little bit, but also when you have both teams having big scaling elements like this, doesn't feel as much as a rush and need to force too much too early.
Oh, Gumayusi taking a lot of damage here as Keria once again having to use that heal. Now that it's a 2v2 once more, looks like KT going to be feeling all right about it. As Piosik going to get bowled at. And Mom comes down in the mid lane as well. We saw that a little bit off screen.
Yeah, just a wave clear.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting, Keria using the heal just in the trade quite aggressively for the second time. And also BDG using that to clear, but now... Our lane's been pretty rough for Perfect so far. Just get a good stun trade back there, but he's definitely not been having a great time in this matchup. Zeus really enjoying playing the Olaf into this Renekton.
Yeah, it has been a pretty good punishment option that they've been able to utilize. We haven't seen Pyosik up there at all to try and sort of capitalize on the 1-2 punch. Pre-6, of course, it is certainly an option against the Olaf, especially one that didn't have the Ghost, but that unfortunately wasn't something that KT were able to orchestrate. And Owner has just had his run of the jungle right now, as you can see, taking down yet another camp, and is up by about 4 by my count, as we can see right now. So really just having this jungle on lock. And that's what this Lilia really has turned into. Just massive tempo advantages that you can build for yourself on this champion, open up the map for your team.
Yeah, and the ult power just so massive as well. Do you see Locket picked up from Pyosik early on? I think he was actually the first Sejuani to start doing this. We saw Maokai switching to Locket instead of Zeke's as their first item, but a lot of our LCK Sejuanis have stuck with Zeke's, and Pyosik was the first to actually start building Locket. A lot of value against all that AoE damage from the other side. And you can often have situations where, compared to something like a Lilia, who obviously you got that Leandri's first, you know, in a short skirmish, the value of that shield can be so massive.
Well, now you've got T1 moving on over to try and take these grubs. It is on full vision here of KT. As you can see that control ward in the back of the pit. Looks like they're just happy to trade it and get towards 3-3. As Beryl throws down a high note. Nice drop of the beat there. As Gumayusi's going to get healed back to full, basically, nullifying all of that effort. With a Piercing Darkness, as Senna is wont to do. You can see not too many clues when it comes to exactly what the build is going to look like here for Keria. Yep. It is likely going to be what you were talking about before, with that Helia coming in first.
Yeah, Pyosik is hovering around the bot lane, but I think it's too risky to go for a dive when Cleanse is up for Guma, and he just have that ult as well. So he'll just steal away some camps in the situation, not looking to contest those grubs. About 1,000 gold lead for T1 right now. A lot of it off those plates picked up that they managed to get, and also a bit of farm lead in the jungle. Next Dragon at minute 30 might be the first point we actually see a fight between these teams.
Well, BDD taking a little bit of poke, does flap his way away from Faker here. He was putting on a lot of pressure, picking up a plate for himself here, as well as BDD just doing his very best to claim as many stacks as he can. Didn't really have a peek at what the stacks look like right now. Currently ahead in farm by just a little bit, as Owner is going to take down yet another Rift Scuttler. This might be a first blood opportunity here, as Perfect looking to try and get himself out. Don't know whether he got himself a dice, as he's not even going to be sleepy. He's just going to be sent home, does have his teleport, and yeah, it's very annoying, isn't it? There we go.
With the Leandris as well, it takes so long to get the recall off. But it looks like T1 not even really putting too much attention down towards the Dragon, instead looking to see if they can threaten a dive on a Perfect. Definitely capable of doing this in a 2v1. BDD does have teleport if he wants to defend, but it looks like the focus for KT is down towards that Dragon again.
Yep. You can see KT have not done a lot of damage to structures here in this game. As Owner is going to try and put Pyosik to sleep. The prison does come down, but there's the Emperor's Divide. Mom comes through as well, but there is just nothing Pyosik can do. Encore is going to connect here onto the Lilia, but the Dawning Shadow is there in response. And Beryl and BDD just not with enough damage by the looks of things. A Q does come down, but this is a very early Smolder the flash forward. And BDD not able to do enough to take down Faker's Azir. The damage just isn't there yet from the Smolder, especially when there's a Senna on the other side. The healing's not really kicking in yet from Keria, but it's enough to keep them healthy. BDD not even at 125 stacks now. It's a good play from T1 to take out Pyosik and kind of reset KT's tempo on the map. You can see they were setting up down towards that bot side. With the jungler dying, they kind of have to give it up. And here, Pyosik knew that Owner was topside, but didn't expect to get engaged on here when you have flashes. Sejuani, a Faker gets the shuffle, flashes out of the tower. The root's there from Keria to follow up. A great initial pick, and then just to sustain here, a bit of shielding comes in for the Senna, but the heals consistently, meaning that just BDD doesn't have enough damage to take anyone out. Yeah, I think he saw that Q damage and was like with Beryl there as well, but the extra heal does come on through. KT's still able to get back out onto the map and take themselves an Infernal Drake, and that is Hextech Soul. Mountain Infernal Hextech. That is terrifying. The Hextech Gates now up and available as well for that extra maneuverability.
And I think this is pretty good for KT, because 2k gold deficit, obviously not ideal. Playing into like the Senna, who's starting to get items, not ideal, but you have two dragons. It's a Hextech Soul. that is such a powerful one to get. You really feel good that you've kind of been rewarded for your early investment into those dragons. Beryl, though, could be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, he doesn't have flash, nor does he have heal. He has nothing. He's just dead. That is Gumayusi picking up that kill. And sometimes when you're playing these enchanted supports, you need to be a little bit careful with where you step.
Yep, that's the danger of playing something like the Seraphine. If you're out of position, not much you can do to kind of disengage from that and just get picked off by T1.
Oh dear. Some of the cracks starting to show here for KT here in this game number 1. Pioshik getting down a control ward just to try and make sure that BDD is going to be safe. With Carrier moving over, probably a good idea. As there goes the cannon, at least the money is going to be built up there.
And Def's already got the
Executioners.
Executioners, goodbye, very goodbye, especially when Guma has the Bloodthirster. I feel like a Serpent's Fang. It feels really awkward to fit in your build, but might be needed. We'll see later when we see some of these Senna ultimates, sorry. And yeah, Beryl just overstepping, gets caught here, and when Guma comes in on the flank, it's just over. There's no way you get out of this situation.
Yep. Not really much of a hope there. And maybe just an optimistic ward opportunity that he thought he was safe to do. Certainly was not, as Wave going to be shoved in here by Deft. He is ahead once again as far as farm is concerned. BDD doing a good job as well. But Neela being only like 2 CS behind is a little bit of a worry.
Yeah, and also part of the fact of having a Neela, Carrier is 2 levels up on Beryl.
Yeah,
which is pretty concerning. Doesn't quite have that Helia yet, but that's a decent spike. But really, 2 items is just where this champion just starts to take over the game. So I think with the fact that T1 already have a gold lead, it's really, really good for them. You know, they'll feel good as the game goes on. And I think this dragon fight in 2 minutes 30 might dictate the rest of the game. If KT can get that dragon, maybe even if they lose the fight, but don't lose it too badly, it still feels like hopes are alive because then the Hextech Soul is still in the cards. But if T1 secure that, I think the game's going to become very dangerous very quickly.
Yeah, and I think that T1 still has kind of a bit of onus on them to try and close this one out as quickly as possible before BDD, you know, gets up to 750 stacks or whatever number we saw yesterday with all the smolders that were coming out. But right now, Faker is going to do the I'm going to do nothing and avoid the Glacial Prison. That was really nicely done. Beryl throws a point-blank encore, though. And I think Faker, after this one, is going to be dead. So 3 versus 1, those odds weren't great. And that is BDD grabbing himself a kill as the bullet time does come down. That might actually save this turret. And it will do so. So Deft able to alleviate some of the pressure there. But Perfect can't stick around here in this bottom lane because Ona's making his way over. And that will be first turret blood going over to T1. Whenever you kill Faker, there is always something that his team is taking on the map.
Yep, and it was a good move from Deft to cover the mid tower so they didn't lose that. That would have really been a big hit. But ultimately, T1 still getting the first tower in this situation. Can't be too upset about that one. But still good moves from KT. I like that they're trying to make something proactive happen, looking for angles and able to punish Faker. Unfortunately, he didn't end up getting his flash. He kind of knew that he was a bit dead after the fact that actually didn't have his flash at the time. But yeah, it's a good ult, but then didn't have the Q so he could dash a further distance, and Beryl just connects everything onto him.
Yep, not a whole lot he can do. And so sort of just says, I'll try and kill as much of the wave as possible and get himself out of there. Now has his flash up and available. And we'll see whether Faker can get back into this one. Of course, I don't think he's going to be too worried about how that went because they were able to get that first turret blood. You can get to see the gold lead is still very, very healthy here for T1.
We've seen this one before.
Yeah, okay, so he does have his flash now, but he's still going to get engaged on here by Pioshik. BDD going to breathe on him there as the permafrost does come in. He avoids Mom, though, and the wall is going to stop them from being able to walk up.
Yeah,
Rift Herald goes down in the mid lane, and Faker is just buying as much time as he possibly can. This turret is now going to get aggressive at him as Beryl is just going to flash over. That is going to be the kill picked up, but at what cost? Ladies and gentlemen, as the inner turret is going to fall, as well as the outer, and Shelly even gets to go on another walk after that.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get another charge on the back of this, just using it to get to Dragon quickly.
That'll do it, though.
But here's the cost. Flash bin from Beryl for him to get that kill on a Faker, and they lose this Dragon. And the reason this is so dangerous is because T1 have a big lead, but the next Dragon from here on out, like subsequent Dragons, Baron is going to be up.
Yeah.
If you try and contest a Dragon as KT and you lose the fight, you're probably losing Baron, and that might just be the game. This was the last Dragon they could potentially try and pick up, and if they lose the fight but get the smite, wouldn't be too bad. Would be the complete end of the world. So, yeah, starting to feel worse and worse for KT, even though they do manage to take out Faker here. Buys so much time, ults the Sejuani away with the tower down, kind of stalls them out for a bit. They do end up just moving through the wall eventually. But then the fact Beryl has to flash here to get the kill onto Faker to secure it before he goes down, not ideal.
No. Suboptimal, also, you know, getting the kill onto the Seraphine, not the best thing. And so, all in all, you'd probably say a trade-up here for T1, considering the inner turret falling in that mid lane. Standing gold is something we do like to talk about, and that's something that KT has in spades, only picking up one turret so far. So if they can get back out on the map, certainly going to be an opportunity there. But the problem is, I think control begets more control here for T1. And as they continue to suffocate, KT ever getting towards these turrets is going to be more and more difficult because, of course, they're already struggling to ward, right? Like Beryl, you could see there. I mean, it's real dicey. As soon as you see a member of T1, you have to get out of there.
Yeah, flash this Seraphine. So risky to try and contest his vision.
And he is going to once again be found. Emperor's Divide is going to go wide this time, though, as KT looking for a teleport angle. BDD comes in on top of the turret is perfect. He's making his way through as well. Mom comes down. The Dawning Shadow is there, but the AoE damage here from KT is gigantic. There goes Carrier. There goes Faker. Ona was already dead, and now it's just Zeus trying to fight them off, but he knows he's only going to be able to get that one, and KT have their sights on Baron.
A massive overstep from T1 is immediately punished, and just when the game starts to feel like it's going out of KT's control, they punish T1. The AoE ultimates come in a choke point, and T1 fall and lose the Baron when the game felt like it was all in their control. And we see on this one, Faker doesn't want to commit the flash for this play, thinks he can get the shuffle without committing it, but it's just a little bit too far away. Had the flash, could have got Beryl, and then this turnaround play, they're trying to save Faker and disengage, but flash is used by Faker here, and then the Mom comes in, Charm as well. The ult, everything is so good, and then Zeus turns up. He's so strong right now, but the fight's already over. He just gets Beryl, and it's like, okay, job done, see ya.
Yep, and I actually think that was the intelligent move, because otherwise he was just going to be food for KT. They definitely had a lot of damage still there. So KT now with the Baron up and available. And this is where the KT comeback is looking to try and come in. 227 on the stacks here as well at 22 minutes is kind of nutty. Yesterday we were seeing 25, 26 minutes for those stacks to start coming through here. And BDD making pretty short work of it on this Smolder right now, who is sitting on 301. Now building towards his third item at the same time. And the Smolder problem has, I think, accelerated in its danger values.
Yeah, level 15 as well right now. With the Baron and Puck as well, we talked about the standing gold that's available. KT going to look to capitalize on that, trying to push mid in here. And there's just not much T1 can do.
Yep, no stopping this one. They have managed to trade outer for outer so far. As you can see there, the Rebel Baron power play, not exactly the largest, as the teleport is going to come through from Faker, as that Glacial Prison just barely enough ergs on it, unfortunately, for Pioshik. So Carrier is going to survive that one. This inner turret not going to be falling on this particular push. So KT still struggling to find a lot of value when it comes to this Baron. An early one like this is often difficult to make use of. But I think KT fans probably looking to get a little bit more out of this. But you can still see only about 1,000 in it between the two teams. And if KT can orchestrate themselves another team fight like they just did, this game could be much closer than what we were maybe expecting out of what we'd seen in this early game.
Yeah, if they can keep the pressure up, you know, it's that Dragon in 40 seconds. They have 2 in the pocket already. I was concerned about their ability to contest it when the Baron was on the cards, but they took that off the map and on a real position of strength compared to before right now. Interesting, we do see Pioshik going for the Abyssal Mask. Not much magic damage on KT, so perhaps not the highest value buy there.
Let's see what they can actually utilize it for. Maybe Beryl's damage is what they're trying to boost up after he got that flash kill onto Faker. You know, maybe the next item is just going to be a death cap. You never know. I mean, we probably know that it's not going to be. As Perfect is now slinking around, looking for a flanking Olaf, as the Viking is sort of lurking in that area. Pureshik looking for that angle as well, as the Glacial Prison back up and available once again. Walking forward, does find the ulti there. The Watch Out Eep, something that Ona might need to take into account, but instead, Zeus is on the roam, and Pureshik is in a lot of trouble now. Taken down to 50%, Bowling Ball going to be soaked there by Perfect as KT. They just want to get themselves Soul Point. The Baron has just worn off, but this is a lot of damage. I don't think that T1 are going to be able to get over towards this Dragon in time, as the Bowling Ball flies in and just sails by Beryl. There is Soul Point. That is what KT got out of the Baron, and I think, honestly, that's a real good prize.
Yep, they're happy with that one. It's going to put a lot of pressure on T1 in this game, but they're trying to corral them, trying to find an angle here.
Yep, the sleep does go down. Oh! The Apotheosis on the 4 is gigantic, but it is another encore from Beryl that is huge as well, but the Smolder goes down, Pureshik to follow. Zeus is going ballistic. It's a triple kill for the Viking, and now Beryl and Def are against the world, and I don't think they like that. It's a quadra kill, and there's the penta for the Olaf top from Zeus here in game 1.
Zeus managed to farm up a big lead in this game, and he's rewarded. This is what the comp wants to do. There's no answer to this Olaf. You can't CC him, and with the Senna backing him up, you certainly cannot kill him. He just moves through the fight, taking out target by target. The return ult from KT managed to get some value, but it's not enough, and now T1, with the death timers coming up shortly, they won't be able to end, but they are going to do a lot of damage to KT right now, taking that tier 2, getting some more gold, getting that inhib tower as well, and this Olaf probably just going to be able to pick up a whole item after that fight.
Yeah, I think he's been on these two for quite some time, as we're going to check it out once more. Kumiyushi's Apotheosis onto 4 people is just monstrous.
And he gets focused down afterwards, but
and VD fails the flash.
Yeah, unfortunate. And you see the Olaf charging in, going target by target, runs through the Seraphine ult, and with the healing from the Senna, just so hard to deal with. Even with the healing reduction, the Qs still end up being pretty massive.
Yeah, he's like immediately calling for the penta. And I think it was a pretty possible one. And there it goes. Not a lot of reaction afterwards, but did manage to pick that one up. So congratulations to Zeus.
He's got a whole Sterix between last fight. Oh, look, that's a pretty big. That's a pretty big hill that T1 just climbed on the gold graph.
I would say so. So now they've moved up 5,000 gold, and back is going to come through that. So no fear, I guess, for Pureshik. I would have been a little bit scared myself.
Moonstone now picked up 4 carrier as well.
My goodness. I imagine that that damage was done in the last fight.
Yeah, probably about 10,000 of that damage. Okay,
yeah,
maybe not, but a lot done in that last fight. And he's going to continue to be a problem in these 5v5s. Now KT on the back foot once again, but it is 2.5 minutes until that Dragon, which would give him the opportunity for Soul. So I think T1 will probably want to start up the Baron, threaten it, force a fight, or secure it, give themselves more of an advantage before the Dragon's even on the table. They don't want to flip. The flip is so dangerous when it's a Hextech Soul. And you can see them trying to get control of this topside jungle, pinging around the Baron area. They really want to see if they can get a pick here or any angle just so they can start the Baron up. They do have a lot of sustain, so it doesn't even matter if the Baron starts to damage them. They can just heal through the damage.
Well, now you can see KT, not a lot of options here. They have to use a Scryer's Orb in order to get the information here from T1, who are already peeling off the Baron. They're going to try and pick up this mid-wave and just retain as much suffocation as they can. Give themselves all of the avenues. They see where KT is sweeping. They immediately then just repopulate the area and then straight back to the Baron once more. As Ward goes in there for Beryl, they spot the fact that there is a control ward there towards the bottom side of the brush. Another control ward goes in as Pureshik is over here. So it would be a 50-50 T1. They recognize that, back away immediately. But another possible fight in a choke point could be dangerous depending on who gets the first step, right? Like, I think that lining up into both of these teams feels really rough.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we saw the fight earlier that KT stomped. Zeus wasn't there. And I think that's more of a prominent issue now when he's so fed. But this is what T1 does, you know, they force the Baron, they get TP out of BDD, it's just trying to get those resources bit by bit. The problem is, though, that Dragon's up in a minute. They kind of have to give up on their Baron plans and lean towards that. And T1 want to get set up on the Dragon early, but they have to be careful, because if they overcommit to the Dragon, KT can go Baron, you can see them set up here. But also, if the Dragon gets low, the Hextech Soul is so strong, you really don't want to give it over. Even if you win the fight, unless you can end the game off the back of it, if you've given over Hextech Soul to KT, that can really hurt you for the rest of the game. It is just so strong.
Yeah, I think T1 need to turn their attention straight towards the Dragon. As soon as that becomes an issue here, 18 seconds on that spawn timer. KT nowhere really near it, as they have once again regained some control over their own jungle.
Oh, Keria went a sorcery potion, so really maxing out.
Yeah, I like that
on that AP. And yeah, you know, I'm gonna be honest, Keria's been playing completely fine, but this ain't nothing yet. When it comes to Senna, with the sorcery potion, with the Moonstone now, we're gonna see a point where he ults in a team fight, and it's just gonna be absurd. So T1 have control over the Dragon. They're gonna be able to take this down and then move over to respond from KT. KT haven't even started the Baron yet, so there's no threat. Good moves from T1 to secure this.
Yep, very nicely done. They will be able to take that one down. Big shielding coming in here from KT as Vero presses his W button, but T1 looking for that inside track here on this mid lane. A Chu does come down as the bowling ball is just barely going to miss, and KT starting to get split up, starting to look a little bit confused on the map right now. And T1 just kind of running them in circles here with that tempo advantage that they did manage to pick up for themselves. And the only thing going for KT right now is the fact that they're the team with sole point. And I think in 4.5 minutes, that is going to no longer be an advantage that they have, and one that they share with T1.
Yep, and even the stats as well from the Hextech Dragons, you know, attack speed and ability haste, pretty good on basically everyone on T1. Yep. Ona's the only one who doesn't really appreciate the attack speed. But yeah, BDD already had that teleport burned earlier. We'll probably see... Oh, the shield was, yeah. Obviously protects him against the mini anyway, but we're going to see T1 probably set up once again towards the Baron, and if they can force TP from Perfect, that's when it becomes really scary for KT. And Olaf can be a threat in the side lane as well right now. I mean, if you look at the item difference between him and Perfect, level difference as well, not fun playing this Renekton in the side lane. You don't really want to deal, especially with such a long lane when you've lost all the towers in bot. If you overstep, you're going to get ran down by the Ghost Olaf.
You really are. I do want to turn your attention, though, Orcs, to a certain item that Deft may have built, which is pretty cool. He's gone for the third item, Serpent's Fang, so that when he presses ultimate, it should mean that Keria is not going to be able to keep everyone infinitely alive with shields as well as heals, because he also has that Executioner's Calling, likely to be turning that one into a Mortal Reminder, which feels a little bit better than it used to as well.
It's a good move, and also the Serpent's Fang applies on any damage, not just physical. So even if you if you make it rain, it applies it. Yeah, it's kind of unique in that sense, because a lot of other items is like, okay, specifically physical, but Serpent's Fang's on all damage. I've even seen like a Zyra build Serpent's Fang against an Ivan before.
Yeah, we saw Brand build a Serpent's Fang or something.
Yeah.
Were you telling me about that?
Yeah. In certain shield things. Obviously, MF does use lethality pretty well, so it's not a terrible item on here, but I mean, when the ult comes out from Senna, even with the Serpent's Fang, you're probably still going to get a big shield, but without it, it's just instant team fight winning. And the ult shield lasts for like 3 seconds. It's not like a quick little shield either. They are now setting up onto the Baron, starting up, trying to get KT to approach. Not fantastic vision setup for T1 over the wall. They throw that ward down, but the control was immediately there.
Yeah, let's see what KT can actually line up, as I don't think a 50-50 is what T1 has on their minds. Control ward goes into the back of the pit. BDD going to come on through there, finds a decent array with his Q damage, as Perfect is possibly going to get sleepy, as a Chu coming down once again. BDD is very scary, guys. I think the Leandries has just been purchased. That's item number 4. After the rapid fire cannon, and there it is. And so this Smolder is doing legit damage. Like, he is very, very scary. And once again, it's going to have to be about Zeus getting into that backline, pressing Ghost, pressing Ragnarok, and hoping he can kill the Dragon before he dies.
I will say, though, KT did a pretty good job of just staving off T1's Baron attempts. They haven't done anything too rash, too crazy. Yes, they burnt Perfect's TP, but BDD's TP was back up by that point, so they always have a resource to kind of spend.
Well, there's the aggressive advance here. Only onto 2 here on the Apotheosis, and Gumayushi taking so much damage back. That is going to be Perfect, shutting him down. He gets a huge shield as a bullet time. Point blank here from Def. Faker almost being taken down. Ona has to go golden. Faker is out of there, and Ona is just dead. Zeus now trying to keep himself alive against Perfect and Beryl, and it is just not working even through the Sterix, and KT win another fight into a Baron.
T1 go for the desperate engage. Guma tries to force it, doesn't find the right members, and the response is immediate from KT. We don't end up seeing the value of the Olaf in that one, and the Smaller is starting to take over this game. Baron going to be secured for KT, and now it's going to be about 40 seconds until Soul, and he goes in initially on BDD, but doesn't commit the ult onto him. The return is immediate, he just goes down. Olaf is trying to kill Beryl, but Beryl flashes and immediately is out. And look at this return fire from both the Smolder and MF, chunking Faker, killing Owner in the end. A very scrappy fight, felt very forced from T1, and KT said, okay, we'll just fire all of our ultimates back at you.
Yeah, the fact that Def just sort of stands there and presses R right in the face of everyone, that was the most nutty thing for me.
And now
it seemed to work out, though, as another Baron goes over to KT, and there's 12 seconds on the Dragon.
Yeah, Zeus just spawned. He has the Hex Gates to get here, but they don't have control of the area. If KT get this Soul, I think the game might just be doomed. Playing into a Smolder with this many stacks and a Hextech Soul, Ona has to steal this. There's no other way about it.
Yep, there's going to be another team fight. That is all I know, as this Dragon is going down exceptionally low. Snare not quite going to connect. That is going to be the steal from Ona, but can they keep themselves alive in the fight? BDD going too far forward. It's another apotheosis as Beryl is going to go down. Ona will be taken out, though. BDD is still alive in this one, but not for long. It's a double for Guma. His health bar is just yo-yoing from these heals. And Pyoshik is sent to the nether as well. It is punch for punch, blow for blow between these two teams. So this time, T1 punch back.
And Guma redeems himself for the play around mid, finds the engage there, gets on the back line. The healing comes through from Kerry to back him up, but now, you know, T1 denied the Soul, but it doesn't matter, they're just gonna end the game.
Yeah, denying the game, I think, is a good idea. Deny enemy Nexus seems to be the game plan for T1, and they are just gonna march down this mid lane, take out these Nexus turrets. And man, this for game number one, this was a little bit too intense, but man, it was a banger. We'll see whether we have a few more of these in this series as T1 take out the first one.
Such a hectic game, like so much back and forth between these two teams, and it felt like T1 had a clear plan for what they wanted to do in fights, and sometimes that failed, and they immediately got punished, and sometimes you saw it all come together. The genius kind of aligned.
Yep.
Neurons firing at the same time. But it wasn't an easy game.
No.
And I think that's signs of what the series is going to be. Not an easy series for either side. KT obviously gets side selection going into game 2. But T1, you know, came out with some cool ideas. And obviously definitely happy they got the game 1 win, but wasn't clean.
It certainly wasn't. I think there's a lot of things for KT to look at as far as back to the drawing board is concerned. I don't think you're all that inspired by Renekton and Sejuani as the first couple of round of picks. That's even before we have a look at the damage here. I think BDD on the Smolder is something that T1 probably want to take a look at because he was starting to take over the game. And honestly, if KT had have won that smite, then Hextech Soul possibly could have taken that fight over the line for them as well. But you never really know, and T1 very decisive. Gumayushi, not to be underestimated, right? Like, he messes up that first engage, goes back in for another one, just needed another try.
Exactly. Know, guys, you just saw me fail, let's do it again.
Yep, now I've got them not expecting it, and so I'll be able to take them down. It is time for us to go to a short break. When we get back, the space is going to break down game 1. We'll be here for game 2.
잠깐만. 떴다.
맞았어. 말이야.
나 그냥
아 전혀 20초.
좀만 더 위치만 안 보여.
잠깐만.
정면. 공 맞아줄래 세주고?
맞아 올라 앞에.
용 뺄게.
나 이거 싸면 돼. 빼야 돼.
안 좋아.
맞아. 쓰면서.
또 막았어. 우리 앞라인 다
잡거든?
앞라인 다 잡았어.
좋아.
야 미드 가자. 뭐야 닐라 뭐야?
야, 니네
닐라 뭐야? 와.
힐러.
따서 갔네?